On this week's show, we discuss how to calculate the return on investment.
We'll be discussing how to secure lease option agreements.
We introduce you to Rahim, a foster child from Sierra Leone who moved to the UK on his own aged 15 and is now financially free, earning a passive income of £7,000 a month, and we're going to be looking at exactly how he achieved that.
In this week's news, we're going to be discussing empty homes, a national scandal.
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're here every single Friday at 4 p.m. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds, CEO of Property Investors with Samuel Leeds. I've been involved in property now for about 10 years.
Hi, my name's Alistair Cunningham. I'm a landlord, I'm an investor, and I'm also the owner and director of Better Source Limited.
Fantastic. So, thanks for joining us this week. Glasses free.
I am glasses free, yes, at the minute. I can't quite see very well, but I am glasses free.
Wasn't that the same as before then?
No.
Just took your glasses off and you're in the same boat?
Well, I am pretty much, but I'm recovering from laser eye surgery, so excuse the squinting and the occasional wet eyes.
And what are those for?
Oh, these are my shades, just in case it gets a little bit bright, which it is a bit bright now. I'm going to have to don the Ray-Bans, or Ray-Dons, shall we say.
Are they?
No, they're Ray-Bans.
Oh, right. Okay.
Of course they're Ray-Bans. Only Stuart Brown buys Ray-Dons. Never in Uganda.
That's so funny. Yeah, we're in Uganda. He's like, these Ray-Bans are really cheap. He's like, oh, I'm gonna pick up these Ray-Bans, and then he was like, what do you want, Ray-Bans? I was like, Stuart. They say Ray-Dons. So I don't know what they are, but yeah. I think there was some sort of rip-off. So have you had, other than the laser eye surgery, I'm guessing you've had a pretty quiet week, as in you haven't been doing anything because you can't see? Yeah,
no, today's actually first day back at work doing this, so I've been resting and chilling out with the support of my wife.
Okay. You might also notice this week we have bought some new podcast mics, so hopefully we'll be coming across even clearer. Because I know when you guys listen to us, you want to hear us in crystal clarity, and hopefully that will be the case. So, kicking off this week's show, we're going to be looking at how to calculate the return on investment. I'm sure many of you know Samuel Leeds. He did a video about this, which was released on Monday. In fact, let's hear a little clip of that now, and then we'll tell you our thoughts.
When most people buy properties, they buy with their feelings and not with their formulas. And that always ends in a disaster. So you want to be buying with formulas. And what I mean by that is working out what the return on investment is. How do you work out the return on investment? It's really, really simple. When you're buying a property, there's only two figures that you need to look at. And then those two figures you divide together and that gives you the return. And what are those two figures? Number one is how much money are you putting into the deal in total? So that would be the deposit, any refurb on the property, any legal fees, setup, stamp duty. How much money are you putting down in total in the property? That's the first figure. So when you're about to buy a property, write that figure down. Second figure is how much annual income or annual cash flow profit, whatever, are you going to be making from that property? Now, I'm not talking about how much you're going to be able to rent the property out for. I'm talking about what's the profit. So how you're going to work that out is you're going to take the annual profit, which is the rent, and then you're going to knock off the expenses, mortgage payments, voids, management, maintenance, all the figures that are going to happen. I usually say 10% for management and 10% for maintenance. So how much are you actually going to be left with in profit cash flow? Then you divide the annual profit by the total investment, times that figure by 100, and that will give you, boom, the ROI, return on investment. And that is the only thing that you should be thinking about when buying properties. What's the return on investment? Now, in my opinion, if the return is less than 20%, I'm not interested. It's got to be higher than 20%. And on top of that, of course, you're going to benefit from capital appreciation.
Okay, so I mean, it's pretty basic stuff. But it's probably the sort of stuff that a lot of people don't know. So, I mean, how long have you been working out return on investment?
Do you know, it's funny you say it's pretty basic stuff. Do you know how many people I know that are in property that don't actually know how to work out return on investment properly? It's astonishing. Loads. It's astonishing. Same with also deal packagers and deal sourcers. The amount of deal sources that I know don't work out return on investment properly. So they're sending out deals to investors, but they're not calculating everything correctly. And one thing they always miss out is finder's fees. So I believe that if you're going to, as a deal sourcer, if you're going to be selling a deal to an investor, you must include your finder's fees in the return on investment, because ultimately...
That's a very interesting point, because I know a lot of people don't.
They don't do it. A lot of them don't do it.
Yeah, but it is a cost.
Of course it's a
cost. Direct cost involved with that deal.
Return on investment is a very simple number. It's how much money have you got to put in, how much money are you getting out. Divide the two together, that's your return on investment. It's very, very simple, but you've got to put all of your money that you're putting in, you've got to put that into the calculations.
Yeah, a question that I get asked quite a lot at events, particularly events like the Deal Finding Extravaganza, where we're working it out with everybody, and everyone's finding the deals live. One of the questions that a lot of students ask is, I know how to do the return on investment for HMOs, but how do I do it for rent-to-rents, or how do I do it for... It's like it's the same.
It's the same. It doesn't matter what the deal is. It's the same. But you must have a true understanding of what your costs are. The problem is most people don't know what their costs are. They just make them up. You can't do that. You can make them up as best as possible with the information you've got. Like for instance, return on investment. Say on a rent to rent, you're going to want to know things like your utility bills that you're going to be spending out every month, because that affects how much money you get back at the end of each month. So you can't guess that to the pound. You can't put that down to the pound, but you can estimate it as best as possible. And there's websites that can help you do that. But things like your legal costs are generally, you know what the legal costs are. Your deposit, you know what that is. Your finder's fee, if you're paying one, you know what that is.
When you're working it out, take us through the process then. So you found a deal.
Yeah.
What do you do to work out your return on investment? So you found a deal online, potential deal online.
Okay, so let's just say it's let's be very, very simple here. A little single let property. I work out and I find out the exact fixed costs that investor's going to have to put in. So your deposit, legal fees, stamp duty, if there's any stamp duty payable, finder's fees, any of the fixed costs that he has to put in. Then I divide it by the known costs that come out. So things like council tax, utilities, all that sort of stuff. As long as I've got the exact numbers, you can work it out.
And how exact? Because I'm guessing that you'll probably do it 3 times. You'll probably do your rough when you're working out whether it looks like a good deal or not. Then once you press ahead and you're taking it more seriously, you might find the exact. As exact as you can kind of get. Figures. I mean, obviously with something like a rent-to-rent service accommodation, there's guesswork. There's always guesswork, because you don't know, without actually doing it, you're not going to know. So you're going to work out the rough to see if it's a good deal. Then before you actually commit to the deal, you're going to do it as an exact as you can get. And then maybe 6 months down the line, you'll work out the real figures once you've actually started doing it. How accurate are your rough exact compared to your real?
They're normally fairly accurate. So for instance, John Raybould, he bought a house through Better Sourced. And the figures we gave him when he was buying the house, he's now completed on that house, and he's very confident he's going to achieve them figures. If not, what he's actually telling me is he's actually going to achieve higher than what I told him. So
I've noticed that about you, is that you on your deals you tend to underestimate.
Be conservative.
The figures.
Always be conservative. But do you know one thing I get a lot? I do get a lot of other sourcers who struggle to sell deals, and they contact me asking me to sell the deals for them. And I always sort of say to them, look, just send me over the deal, let me have a look at it if I want to have a look at it. And they massively they're really rubbish with numbers. Honestly, I promise you wouldn't believe it. Like, I had a guy message me a few weeks ago, 5-bed HMO. At the minute, it's just a house, but it would make a really good 5-bed HMO. He estimated the whole conversion with fire doors, fire alarm, has been like £2,500. And I'm like, mate, you're nowhere near. That's going to be near like 10 grand. It's not going to be £2,500. You're going to be £2,500 just for fire doors. But my point being is he's sending that out to investors as a great deal. So the investor thinks he's going to be paying £2,500. The reality is he's not. He's going to be paying 10, 12 grand, because fire doors, we know fire doors are approximately £300 a door. The property needs 7 fire doors, so there's 2,100. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't take a genius to work out these numbers. You just got to do it. But the problem is, a lot of deal sources won't do it, because when they start doing the numbers properly, suddenly the deal doesn't stack up as well as they thought it did. So they're 300% ROIs down to 15% ROI when you do the numbers properly. You've got to do numbers properly.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for keeping the numbers down? So when you're first going into a deal, to keep your ROI as high as possible. Do you have any tips for, lowering the amount of investment you've originally got to put in?
No, because the numbers are what they are.
Well, not necessarily. Like, for example, I know you've started leasing.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Right. Okay.
I don't mean. Do you have any tips for fudging the figures?
That's what I thought you were meaning, and you were kicking me under the table. So I thought,
I was not. Is there any camera evidence?
No,
right
I'm
here?
only joking. I'm just joking, right? No, yeah, you're right. Okay, there is ways to get round it. Leasing furniture instead of buying furniture. You can actually lease all the refurbishment work. So, for instance, 5-bed HMO. Typically, if it's in good condition, you're going to be needing to spend between £8,000 and £12,000 to get it up to standard. So you don't have to lay that money out.
Because that would make a big... I mean, you'll be bringing less money in because you're paying for it monthly.
Yeah.
But it'll make a big difference to your return on investment.
Yeah,
if you
it
can
would.
lease it rather than buy it. For example, you might want to get multiple quotes on the work that you're going to get.
Yeah.
To get a
One
quality.
thing I find, when we send a deal out, we have a power team in the area. We have sort of HMO managers and things like that. I always get multiple quotes, yeah, and the prices vary drastically.
How many quotes do you normally typically
Normally 3.
Okay.
Because the prices vary drastically.
Yeah, I know.
It's ridiculous.
We had quotes for scaffolding at Ribersford House. I think the one we went for was about 17k.
Right.
But we had quotes going up to 60k.
Really? But the same scaffolding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it varies depending on who you go for.
Yeah.
And sometimes we didn't go for the cheapest. We went for the one that we thought was going to be...
The safest.
Yeah, it was one of the cheapest, but they seemed like they knew what they're talking about.
Okay.
It's about getting the... You don't just want to just always go for the cheapest.
No. It does vary, man. Like I know somebody that will fit fire doors for 150 quid. The doors won't shut properly, but they'll be on there. Do you know what I mean? You've got to weigh things up.
So
like,
you've got to be careful trying to cut costs.
The £150 fire doors, that's fine, but they don't include ironmongery. That's the thing. You've got to work out all your ironmongery, the hinges, the correct hinges, the correct door handles, the fire seals around the doors, things like that. All that adds up. But if you just say to a builder, I want you to fit a basic fire door, they will just fit you a basic fire door. Might not comply, but they don't care because they've been paid. Just get multiple quotes. Anything that you're doing that requires a lot of cash injection, i.e. refurbishment, conversion, you can lease it. We do have a very good contact for that. If you want that, I'm sure Nick can put the link below, which is always going to be handy. And same with furniture, lease furniture, I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, so you're going to do a lot of leasing. I mean, one of the best ways to have a very, very good return on investment, I know you've done this a few times, is to get a lease option on the house.
Yes. Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about one of your lease options?
Okay, so I have a lease option in Wolverhampton. Currently fully let. My total investment in that so far has been about £4,500. It makes just under £1,500 a month gross in rent.
So what's the ROI on that?
It's ridiculous. I can't remember. It's like 200. It's like 180% or something like that. It's really high. Obviously, I don't own the house. I only control it. But as Warren Buffett says, do you know what his famous quote is?
Tell me.
Own nothing, control everything. That's what he says.
Okay.
So I think that's good. So I have the option to buy it in 5 years if I choose to.
Yeah.
But at the minute, I'm happy just collecting the rent every month. My total investment in that property was £4,800, and that's including legal fees, decoration. I'm leasing the furniture, so that comes out monthly as opposed to cash up front. So yeah, it was a cracking little deal.
Now, one thing that would be really useful, because a lot of people ask us about how did you get a lease option agreement?
Yeah. I get asked this question all the time.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to play a little clip of Samuel Leeds on the phone trying to secure a lease option. It'd be very useful for you guys to hear exactly what he says, how he says it, and then we'll tell you our thoughts.
Hello, I'm just ringing about your property that you've just put on to Gumtree. Is it still for sale?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Put him up today.
Oh, I've just seen it come up, so that's great. Would it be okay if maybe ask you a few questions about the house?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm looking at the pictures. It looks I can't really see too clearly, but it looks like it's in reasonable condition. But I just wondered, does they need work or is the condition good?
No, its condition is just right, just good, and it's been decorated and as it says, the address says, been carpeted and looked after.
Oh, that's nice.
We just
It looks nice, and I can see it's got a garden. It's got a garden and everything.
It's a fair bit of garden as well, yes.
That's nice.
It's a good place and the residential area and the schools and the bus route and
Excellent.
the motorway route, yes, nearby, yeah.
Excellent. And there's no problems.
Are you from Huddersfield?
No, I'm not. I'm not from Huddersfield. I'm based in Sheffield, so not too far.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah. Are you living in it? Are you, or what's your?
No, the place is empty. Been empty for a couple of months, 3 months, and just prepared it. And we used to rent the property before, but now we decided to sell it. And
Yeah.
yes, that's why it's been empty for.
So how much rent were you getting for it, if you don't mind me asking?
These houses, they get £400 a month
Yeah.
rent
Yeah.
around this area, or maybe 450 if you push it.
Yeah. If it's extra nice.
A couple of students and all that.
Yeah.
Other than that, with
Okay.
family like 400 to 450.
Yeah, because I've got quite a lot of properties. I'm a landlord, so a lot of landlords are looking to sell at the moment with the new tax changes and Brexit and everything like that. But I'm just looking at getting a few more like this. I mean, this is on. Is it 64, 65,000? Was it?
Yes, we're looking at the figure of 6950 and yes, that's the figure we're looking if you could get.
Okay.
That kind of price. Yeah.
Well, I know the area reasonably well. I know it's in Huddersfield. What's the whereabouts is it? Because I've not got an exact address on here.
The exact address is
Okay.
Poplar Street.
Okay. No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, okay. I mean, what I was thinking is, I mean, it'd be maybe. Are you doing viewings on the property, or have you got an agent?
I can arrange a viewing. Yes.
Okay.
If anyone interested,
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably just to sort of save time and things like that. What I usually do is, if I can kind of maybe just have a look, do some comparables, and give you an idea of what my offer would likely to be, but it would be definitely more than 60,000, because I'm not one of those investors that offers really cheeky offers, because I don't like to do that.
No.
So no, it's a waste. So I don't like to waste time, because I think time is money, right?
We brought the price down so we could quick sell. We got some problems ourselves as well. So
Yeah.
we wanted to.
What sort of?
And you got
Yeah.
some other investments which we're looking at.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, what sort of? I hope you don't mind me asking like a couple of financial questions about the house, so that I can maybe give you an offer, perhaps.
No, don't go ahead. Whatever you want.
Oh, thanks. What I was going to ask what the reason for selling it was and not renting it out. Like, what's the?
No, we had some needed some so raise some cash, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we wanted to invest somewhere else, and we had some other interests.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the reason why we're selling it. Otherwise, they can be rented out very easy.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And this very, as Advert says, is very low outgoing as well. It's a very low amount in the council tax and
True.
running costs and
True.
electric gas and all that is.
Is there a? Have you?
One of those old stone houses, the black houses.
Yeah.
They keep warm and they stay warm, so it's easy to run and easy to manage as well.
Do you know if the property is mortgageable? Have you got a mortgage on the property at the moment, or is it unmortgageable?
I did not in this one. I used to have a mortgage with the bank from the bank's bank loan or mortgage on that first for a couple of properties, and still do have one still ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are mortgageable. Obviously, yeah.
Okay, that's fine because
Nothing wrong with them. No, they are mortgageable.
Yeah. And also, some of the properties that I buy, I do like a rent to buy scheme where I'll pay a monthly guaranteed rent with then a delayed completion at the end of the agreement. I don't know whether that's something that you'd consider in your situation or not.
I haven't, but I am willing for suggestion. It depends how desirable your offer is. I mean,
Like for instance, to give you an example, I'd have to obviously see the property. But if you're saying that the rent would be £400, and then obviously you've got to pay for maintenance and management and everything like that. So you might be left with £200 or £300 profit afterwards. What we do is we would say we can give you maybe £200 or £250 a month guaranteed rent, no costs, and then we'll buy the property for say £70,000, but we'll buy it in a few years to give the market chance to recover. And that's the sort of structure of the deal. So would that be something you'd be open to?
I'm not saying yes or no, but
yeah, of course.
As I said, I just started advertising.
Yeah.
See what response we're gonna get.
Sure.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying yes, but
I understand.
I can consider it. Yes, by all means, yeah.
I understand.
Whatever is, if you really can make anything from this house, by all means.
Yeah.
And I'm here to sell, and you're really willing to buy and invest and have some business with it, by all means.
Yeah.
Do whatever you like. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
You always suggesting that you pay like £250, you rent here £400, whatever you pay rent out.
Exactly.
£400, and you pay portion of it to owner, which is in this case me.
Yeah.
And how about the capital? If you say the price you then you settle the price after a few years, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so there's two ways you could do it. We could either set a price now and say, for instance, £70,000, and give the market chance to recover, or we could say a percentage of what it's gone up by, depending on what you felt more comfortable with. So we could just set an agreed figure and say, in say 3 years' time, we'll buy it for 70, and we'll give you £250 per month guaranteed until the end of the 3 years. But of course, it's all negotiable. And in the same way as you'd obviously have to think about it and see what the response was from the advert, I'd of course have to see the property and things like that. I'm not making you an official offer. I'm just letting you know the outline of what it could look like. If that makes sense.
As I said, by all means, let me think about it. And as well as yourself, you want to investigate a bit more.
Yeah. Well.
And then let's see what response I'm gonna get.
Yeah. Okay.
If I do get a joy, but so be it. If not, we'll sit down and
yeah.
talk about it.
That sounds like a good plan. Well, what I'll do then? Do you want me to? I mean, there's a few options we could do now. I could leave it for the time being and touch base with you in a few days or a few weeks or whenever. Or I could arrange a viewing. Or I mean, it just depends on what you want to do.
We'll leave it for a couple of weeks or so.
Okay.
We will talk again. Then
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So what I'll say, I'll leave my number with you as well. So if you want to give me a call, you can, and then perhaps we'll touch base. It is.
Yes, I will say this one. If you do have anything like any literature, anything like that, you can drop me an email if you want as well.
Sure.
In that way, you can get my email. By all means,
I think I can get your email on Gumtree.
Please, I would appreciate that.
Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you sell it. And if not, then we can have a chat.
Yeah, sure.
Cheers. Bye now. Bye.
Okay, so that was pretty interesting. Was your lease option agreed in a similar way, or how did yours come about compared to that?
Initially, yes, it was. Although Simon's done most of his on the phone, I actually done the initial consultation on the phone, so I got to understand where the vendor was on the phone, and then I went. We went out to meet him, and then we had coffee.
Okay.
But
which is perfect for any meeting.
Yeah.
A meeting is not complete without coffee.
I think the reason being is you've got to understand these vendors are releasing a house to you on something they've probably never heard of. So you cannot always expect them just to say yeah over the phone. I've had it with one lady where they've said yes completely over the phone. I've never met them. But the one in Wolverhampton, for instance, he's a really nice guy. He's owned the property for about 18 years, I think it is.
Wow.
He just doesn't want to be a landlord anymore. And my solution helps him. He's getting money. I'm getting money. I've refurbed his house and I can buy it in 5 years. But for him, I think he's a little bit sceptical because he'd never heard of lease option agreements, as most people are. So I went to view the house. We went over the the how we were going to secure it and put the methods and things like that.
Yeah.
He spoke to the solicitor, and then he rang us up and said, "Yeah, also I want to go ahead. Can we meet up for a bit of lunch just so I can get to know
So
where
now you
you're
had
at?"
lunch as well as coffee.
Well, it was in Costa, so I wouldn't say lunch. It was a sandwich, but it was cool. But that was interestingly.
What do you normally have for lunch? I mean, that sounds like a pretty standard lunch, a sandwich. Well, it wasn't lunch, it was only a sandwich.
Normally fillet steak, but...
Okay, yeah. I know your type.
Right, no. To be honest, that lunch was not...
So now it is a lunch. Make your mind up.
Okay, the 5-course gourmet dinner we had was not... we didn't actually discuss the property. He didn't want to discuss the property. Do you know what he wanted to do?
Can I guess?
Go on.
He wanted just to see what he thought of you as a person.
Yeah. He wanted to see if you could trust me.
So did the deal fall apart at that point?
Pretty much. He said, "No way, I'm off." No. He'd actually been approached by several other people about the same property and offered him the exact same deal.
Really?
Yeah. He chose us. He chose me and my wife because he trusted us.
Your wife must have done a very, very good job of that meal.
You're only saying that because she's watching. But yeah, no, it's cool. So he did. He trusted us. But ironically, we didn't discuss the property one bit. All he wanted to know was about us because essentially he's never heard of this agreement.
Other than all the other people that have pitched him on it.
But he'd never heard of it properly. He'd never spoke to the solicitor. We were the only person that said to him, "Look, go and speak to the solicitor before we do anything with you."
Well, should we go through the steps of how you do it? I mean, obviously we've just seen Samuel do it on the phone, but he's only got so far.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, you're ringing me up. Let's sort of see if we can give some value here, so people can sort of take away from this. So you ring them up. Do you want to role play it? And you can explain what you're doing.
Can do.
Okay, cool. So I'll be the vendor selling the house.
You make it hard. Okay, so...
Okay, I'll be a vendor not selling a house. This is going to be even harder. Ring
right,
about your
okay,
house.
so
It's not for sale.
I would ring you up.
Yep.
Should we ring you up? Ring. We've got to hold the phone properly.
Nice.
Not like that.
I like that.
We've just learnt that on a training course, don't worry. We went on a training course how to hold the phone.
Go on.
No, not really. Okay, so ring.
He's not even holding the phone. He's not even implementing what he learned.
Okay, ring.
I've got you on Bluetooth. Hello?
Okay, I'm switching you to Bluetooth. Yeah, hi. I see your house is for sale. I just want to ask a few questions about that, if possible.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so
hit me up.
Your property looks in pretty good condition. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, it is in pretty good condition. A little bit dated, not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
But, it works as a house. I live in it right now, so,
Do you mind me asking why you're selling it?
Yeah, I'm selling it because I moved into a new house and I've got no need for this one anymore.
So, how many bedrooms is it?
7.
7-bedroom house. Wow, how many people live there?
4.
4, okay. Okay, that's good. So, how quickly are you looking to sell the property?
Pretty quick, man. I'm moving out in Jan, so soon as possible, really.
You're going to make this difficult, aren't you?
No.
Right, okay, so...
Would you say that, by the way? Would you say to me over the phone, you're going to make this difficult?
Maybe, it depends. Okay, so can I ask you some questions regarding the finances, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a mortgage outstanding?
Yeah.
Okay, do you mind me asking how much you pay?
A
Doesn't
month?
have to be exact, just an approximate figure how much you pay per month.
£499.
Oh, okay. And do you need, with this property, are you desperate to sell it, or do you need the money now? Do you need the money so you can move to the bigger house?
No, because I've already bought the other house, but I'm just looking... I am looking to get the money out, obviously, because I want to invest it in other property. So that's part of my plan. Okay.
Is it okay if I come and view the property? I might be able to offer you a better deal, but I'd need to come and view the property first. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. I'll come and see it next week.
Nice one.
And then you don't do anything else at this point.
So you didn't do what Samuel did about mentioning the rent to buy thing over the phone?
I've never done it that way. I always do it slightly differently. So I like to do that stuff in front of the vendor, because then I've found that when I've tried that, it's harder. I find. I do try it and I do it, but I do think sometimes it's a little bit harder. So I like to stand in front of the vendors.
Okay. Does that mean that you potentially might waste your time going to view houses where they're just not interested?
Potentially, yes. But I'll send Max.
Okay, so you just wasted Max's time. Who cares?
No, potentially yes, but I do like to stand in front of the vendor.
Yeah. All right, so you're standing in front of me right now.
Okay. So when we're with you, when we're together,
yep.
I would literally ask what your problems are, what are your questions.
Would you look around the house?
Yeah. So as we're going, we're looking around the house. I'm like a little bit of a ninja here, so we're looking around the whole house, and then and then what I do is
Black hat slit over his eyes. He's very trustworthy.
I tend to just ask you sort of questions that require an open-ended answer. So instead of saying a yes or no, I would ask you questions that require you to actually dialogue. I want dialogue with you. Okay. And then I shut up.
Sounds like you've been on a really good sales program. It sounds like a winning formula. Go on.
Okay. And then I want you to I want to get a dialogue with you. I want to understand what your problems and your pains are. I want to understand why you're selling. And really, I just tend to ask questions and shut up. Because what I find happens is vendors will happily tell you their life story, and they'll happily tell you everything they want to tell you. And I'm not, believe me, I am not for taking advantage of vendors, not at all. And anyone that does, I think you deserve to go bankrupt if you do. But
strong words.
So very strong. I'm sorry, I'm very strong. I'm strong-willed about that.
Yeah.
Sorry. So when you're with these people, you do not take advantage of them, but listen to what they've got to say.
Yeah.
The lease option agreements I've done, they've been a win-win for both parties, 100% win-win. Both, I guarantee you could go to these vendors and say, were you happy with the deal? And they were 100% happy with the deal. And even before we've agreed to
I think that's the key though, is it, to lease options, is when you actually, I mean, the only reason that it can be a bit of a struggle to get them is because it's a bit weird.
It's not so much as weird, it's people don't understand what they are, because they're a relative.
That's kind of what I mean by weird.
No, it's not. They're a relatively new thing in residential. They're very well known in commercial, but not in residential. They're only like 10, 15-year-old in residential, and you don't see them advertised at your local estate agent, do you? You don't see them talked about on Homes Under the Hammer.
No.
So it's only people that really know what they're doing.
Weird. I know you said it wasn't what I meant by weird. But, you know, as it was me that said it, I'm kind of sure it was. That is what I meant by weird.
Maybe I think weird's the wrong word. Unknown.
Okay, unknown. Right. We'll go with that.
Let's go with unknown. Give me a bit of sympathy, man. I can't see properly. So I just think that's why a lot of people get put off by them. Now, the problem I see with a lot of people that are coming to property and are trying to secure lease options, they're doing it before adding value. So they're doing it off the cuff, and they think they can just go in and say, I've got this great deal. Do you want to do a lease option? And at that point, the vendors' guards go up.
Well, I think the reason is that they've learned about lease option, they've seen what it is, and they've gone, oh, this is amazing, I'm just going to buy a house, I'm going to buy it as a lease option. Nah. And then they're just like, right, this is what we're going to do, and it's like, what? Because it's weird or unknown or whatever word it is you want to use to describe it. It's not the norm.
It's not the norm, no. Let me tell you something. I've done a bit of training with somebody who's very, very good at lease option agreements. Now, he told me that no matter what house he goes to, his aim is to buy it conventionally. He can go to any house in the country. His aim is not to get it on a lease option agreement. It's to buy it conventionally. And it's only when he goes into that property and he starts speaking to the vendor, finding out really what they want. Really, if they want more money.
And he'll see if it stacks. The problem with that is that there'll be people listening to this that don't have the money to buy it conventionally, and they're forced to either go down your rent-to-rent type route, or your lease option. Having said that, you can convert a rent-to-rent into a lease option.
I've done it.
I know you have. So you can go down the rent-to-rent route, and if you get the sign that they might be interested in selling it down the line,
I think this all comes back to education. I think if you're educated on all of the sort of strategies in property, when you go into a property to look at a property, you should not be going in with one strategy in mind. I think you need to be fluid. So when you start speaking to the vendors, you have to be a little bit open to other ideas. So for instance, you are right, I secured a property that was advertised as a rental. When I was there, I was speaking to the vendor, and he told me that he's in his late 60s. He told me he wants to sell all of his houses by the time he's 75 because he wants to move to France and retire. All of them are unencumbered, so he literally just wants to sell all the properties when he's 75, walk away with £500,000 or whatever, and go and live happily ever after in France with no hassle. A great guy. But he had it up for rent, so I then clocked, hang about, this sounds better, more suitable for a lease option agreement for you.
Well, the other thing is, lease options where they are useful as well, is that a lot of landlords that own a lot of property like that, for tax reasons, only want to sell one a year, for example. So if you can say to them, well, look, you know, you can use that. You could even buy portfolios off people where you complete on one after 2 years, one after 3 years, one after 4 years.
But just back to the steps, because we didn't quite finish the steps thing. Is that all right? We've got a minute for that?
Yeah.
Cool, right. So you know when I said we go back to the vendor and we speak directly to the vendor?
Yeah.
Never once am I selling to the vendor. Never once am I hard selling to the vendor. So never once do I say, look, I've got this great idea, it's going to be a lease option agreement, do you want to do it? All I ever say to them, once I've learned where they're at, what they want to do, I always just say, look, I may be able to offer you something like this. I may be able to offer you something that's better for you in the long run because you don't need the money now. If they don't need the money now, that is. So, for instance, one of the properties I've done, it's a property, it's in negative equity by about £20,000 because of where it is in the country. The vendors have been struggling to sell it. It's been on the market for well over a year. They've had offers on it, but they can't afford to take them offers because they can't pay the mortgage off. So I've approached them and spoken to them about it, and I've said, look, where are you at? What do you need? So I've not actually met this vendor, but we spoke over the phone and we had a Skype call and things like that. And we just wrote down where they're at financially with regards to what they need. So their mortgage is about 100, I think it's 180 a month or something like that. I'm paying them £400 a month. Now they were only renting it out for £450 a month. So I'm paying them £400 a month. I've converted the property to a HMO, which they're fine with, it's all in the contract. I'm making £1,400 a month. I'm paying them the £400 a month, so I'm making £1,000 gross, and then I've got my cost to come off. My point being is, for 5 years, they're getting that £400 a month. They're getting an extra £220 a month on top of their mortgage. They're profiting every month. I'm profiting every month, and then in 5 years' time, I buy the house off them. So when I was securing this deal, it's got to be a win-win.
Yeah.
It's got to be win-win for both parties. And if it's not win-win, it's not ethical, I'm afraid.
Yep, I totally agree. Well, hopefully that's been useful to anyone out there that's looking at doing a lease option or securing a lease option agreement. Right, we're now moving on. We're going to introduce you to Rahim. We spoke a little bit about him earlier. He has got such an amazing story, and it's one of those stories where you look at it and you say, if he can do it, even Alistair could do it.
Samuel Leeds here, welcome to Winners on a Wednesday. This week we have a fantastic winner. We have Rahim.
Hello, Samuel. Nice to meet you.
Good to have you on the show. All the way
Thank
from
you.
Sierra Leone. You moved down to England when you were 15
Yes.
with absolutely nothing.
Correct.
You're now financially free.
Yes.
High five, bro. In your 20s,
27.
27.
Correct.
It all started when you read my book, Buy Low, Rent High.
Correct.
Tell us the story.
I moved to the UK at the age of 15
Yeah.
without my parents, so I had to
Without your parents?
Without my parents.
So you moved at 15. Who was looking after you?
I was looked after by a foster mom, actually. So, well, I grew up in London where there was lots of crime, so I was able to do stuff to distract myself from involving in all those kind of crimes. Was able to go to college, then move on to universities. I did a degree on accounting and finance, then worked as an accountant
I mean,
also.
that's impressive.
Yeah.
Going from coming down at 15 with no parents in foster care to then going to university is a massive, massive achievement.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
I mean, massive achievement.
Thank you.
So, I mean, what was the lowest point for you as a teenager? When were you the most kind of lost, if you like?
Is when I was in school, when we had parent meetings and I had to have my foster family to come around without my real family. It was one of my lowest points, but at the same time it motivates me because they were there for me.
Thank God that they were there,
yes,
right?
Of course, yes.
Do you still speak to your parents?
Yes, I do, now and then. Yes, I do call them, talk to them sometimes. So yes, I still have contact.
And you still
with them.
speak with your foster parents?
Yes, of course.
Of course.
She's my mom, basically, because she brought me up in a way that I could
That's
do what I do right now.
a
Yes.
very, very interesting background. So,
Thank you.
I mean, it's easy. Sometimes people say, I bring people on the show and they say, oh, it was easy for you, or you know, your parents gave you money, or your parents, not only did they not give you money, they couldn't even look after you as a teenager.
No. So yes, when I used to work in the city as well for a year or so. I moved to Cardiff, because of
why Cardiff?
It's because of a job, basically. I moved there because the company was migrating to Belgium, Brussels. I decided I did not want to go to Brussels then. I rather stay in the UK. And London was too busy to me also. I thought probably I may not be able to achieve my potential in London because I've got family and friends around. So I thought probably if I move out of London, I can reflect to myself and achieve what I want.
So now you've got a good job. You've qualified as an accountant and you're living in Cardiff.
Yes.
What was your income? What were you making as an accountant?
Well, as an accountant, I was earning about £30,000 a year.
Brilliant.
Right, for a start. But I thought all the time that I needed lots of money to get into property until I saw your videos, obviously.
Yeah,
then I realized.
So you're making 30 grand a year, and you had a desire to get out of that and go into property, but you thought you needed loads of money.
Correct.
And why did you want to get into property at all?
Because I want to be financially free. I like to not to be told what to do, basically, and also I wanted to find a way that I will be financially free before I am, say, 30 years old, which I have achieved now, which I think it's a brilliant thing to do then, because obviously it only took me about a year for me to be financially free.
So when you were working for someone else, I mean, did you enjoy being an accountant or not?
When I started, yes, I enjoyed it, but then it just became boring, and also I did not like to be told what to do, as I've told you, and I just wanted to be independent, really.
You've also got a massive heart. I know you're you were very drawn to some of our charitable projects. You want to come out to Africa, you want to help out with the charitable projects, and I assume that was a big reason for you in wanting to become financially independent as well, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is one of my reasons, because that's the reason why I really wanted to meet you in person. So because I believe we can work together in a way, supporting charities as well as in a business terms, because I believe in giving back to community. I started that since I was young as well. When I was 15, I used to be a youth ambassador in Croydon and represent the young youth.
Mate, you are an amazing human being, by the way.
Yes, I believe in that. That's one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with you, so we can help our community become better.
That's incredible. I inspired you and you inspire me, bro.
Fantastic,
thanks. You
thanks.
really inspire me, bro. And I'm just so glad to just, begin to build a friendship with you now.
All right, thank you.
You came to the crash course in August.
Right, September, sorry.
Sorry, September, and that was this year.
Yes.
And that's insane, that was like 2 months ago.
Correct.
And man, what happened at the crash course?
Well, I went to the crash course from a recommendation from a friend of mine, Anne Waters.
Yeah, because again, this is a pattern here. Winners on a Wednesday. You saw Paul and Anne on Winners on a Wednesday.
Right.
Did you doubt their story? Did you think it might be fake?
No.
You know?
I know it was 100% true because I've met them and they've told me what they were doing.
You've now met them, but when you first watched them, were you a bit suspicious?
I was a bit suspicious because it was a bit too good to be true.
Yeah,
basically.
but the thing is, people will be watching this right now, and they'll be suspicious of you.
Of course, yeah.
And they'll probably reach out to you in the same way that you reached out to Paul and Anne.
Right, yes.
It's just a rippling effect.
Of course,
because I inspire someone, they then go and produce an electrifying, amazing story, which then inspires someone else, which has a rippling effect.
Yes.
Which is why I just love doing this.
Yes, exactly. So I cannot thank you enough, basically, because if I hadn't met you, I wouldn't have the motivation and the hunger to move on. Because since I've went to a crash course in September, I was able to close about 6 deals.
That's it. Actually, from the crash course?
Yeah, from the crash course, I was able to see.
What kind of deals were there?
There were 4 rent-to-rent deals. They're making me £700 a month.
Wow.
Net each.
So you came on the crash course. It was a free crash course.
Yes, of course, yeah.
You got 6 deals.
Yes.
You had no money.
Yes.
4 of them were rent-to-rents.
Correct.
And they were making you, and they're just HMOs in Cardiff.
Fully licensed for 5 years as well, so I don't even have to pay for the HMO license.
And they're making you £700 a month each. What were the other 2 deals?
The other 2 deals are buy-to-let deals, and again...
How did you get the finance?
Good question. So what happened was I had a property that I bought not long ago. I used that as I used my rent-to-rent cash flow, the money I've already saved on my rent-to-rent, to put for one of the deals down.
Oh, so you found 2 deals on the crash course that were buy-to-lets, 4 deals that were rent-to-rents.
Right.
The cash flow from the rent-to-rents you put in a pot and you use that towards the deposit.
Correct. That's exactly what I did. And the other property, yes. and the other property, what I did was, it's a no money down deal basically. I had a property.
Yeah.
I'm using bridging to fund the deal 100%. So basically, I'm not going to put any money in it apart from the refurbishment cost.
This is too good to be true sounding.
Yes,
this is incredible.
Right.
What did you learn at the crash course that enabled you to go and find 6 deals?
What I've learned was, no matter who you are, if you're hardworking and you've been guided, you can do what you want to do in life. It's all on you.
Yeah.
I believe in working hard, and then your luck would come.
Yeah.
So basically, after the crash course, I worked twice as hard, just to see if I can get these deals, and then it happens. I set I set a target early this year to say I would have at least 6 deals. End of the year. Thankfully, I am in the progress of
and you've now quit your job.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I did quit it. I had two minds, but I thought probably it's best to quit, because I think if I quit, I'll be able to do so many stuff, and I'll be able to learn, empower myself.
So
basically.
now you're financially free.
Yes.
You've quit your job.
Yes.
You're making £7,000 residual income every single month, which is like passive.
Yes.
Okay, so we've heard from Rahim and how he's been ever so successful with his rent-to-rent strategy after just reading Samuel's book.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if you realise you're still wearing your shades.
Yeah, apologies, guys. The lights are just too bright. They're killing my eyes. Russell's only jealous.
Yeah, I'm very jealous of his Ray-Dons. So yeah, I mean, he literally has only got into property this year. Got into property in August. Really?
As in August this year,
as in that's when
3 months ago.
Well, that's what. Hold on 1 second. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, that is right.
That's crazy, isn't it?
I was thinking, did I read it right? So he started watching Samuel's YouTube videos in August.
Wait, hang about. Is he even joined? He's not even on. He's on the academy now, isn't he?
I think he's joined.
Oh,
so this
sweet.
was, but this was before. This was pre-academy.
So this was just crash course.
This is just crash course, and then obviously this was filmed at the DFE.
So let me get this right. He attended a free.
First of all, he started
event.
watching free YouTube videos. Then,
Then
he got a free book.
And then free crash
Although he
course.
did then purchase the audio version.
Okay, so for like a total investment of like 15 quid.
Yeah.
Right, he has now got an income of about 7k a month. And people don't understand the value of free crash courses. It is utter crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy. But do you know what I think is the biggest standout? I mean, because you look at it, I mean, how many excuses could this guy come up with?
Yeah.
My parents.
Well, hang about. This guy's from Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
He was adopted.
Well, he wasn't even adopted, he was fostered.
Fostered, okay.
Age 15 in a foreign country.
Yeah. And then you hear people complain, oh, I live in Manchester, but the crash course is in London. I can't get there. Put your pants up, boys. Come on.
Do you know what I really felt with him, though? Obviously, I only met him very, very briefly, but how committed is he?
Yeah,
and it just shows. I mean, the strategy's there, guys. I mean, this is doable stuff. The reason people don't do it is because they play with the idea of being a property investor. Mm-hmm. They go along to the odd PIM meeting. They listen to the odd podcast. They watch the odd video. They're aware of it, but they don't commit to it. They're not committed. This guy, Rahim, is fully committed.
He's all in, isn't he?
He's all in.
Yeah,
he's all in. And it just shows the power of what you can do. No matter what your background is, no matter what your upbringing is, no matter what your financial situation is, if you are committed, if you're all in to being a property investor, not even property investing, it doesn't matter what, if you're all in for whatever it is that you're doing,
you're going to see success, sure.
You know, people like that. You're going to see success, and property investing is very easy. I mean, you see people that are all in to be, top sportsmen. Mm-hmm. Like David Beckham was all in to be a footballer, and he became a really successful footballer.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
No, he's right. Yeah.
I was probably laughing because you don't really get successful footballers from Scotland, so he can't really relate. But he was all in to being a footballer. Lewis Hamilton was all in to being a racer, but in those it's really competitive. Property investing is easy. If you're all in to being a property investor,
I think 90% of being successful at anything is just your commitment. The other 10% is just knowledge. But I think commitment is massive.
Well, if you are committed, you'll get the knowledge, won't you?
Exactly, of course, yeah. But this guy, look, even said in the video that he learned at the crash course that anybody can do this. Doesn't matter where you're from or who you are. Doesn't matter if you're broke. Doesn't matter. Nothing like that matters. That's your past. You should be taking what now and going forward.
And he's gone for rent-to-rent HMOs. He's just freaking gone for it.
Well, he's got 4 in Cardiff on the back of the crash course. Deals he found at the crash course.
How many people did you hear going, I'm trying to work out the best strategy? No, just pick
a
strategy
and do it.
Pick a strategy.
What is it? Samuel says,
and go for it.
Done is the new perfect. Just do it. Just do it. Don't worry about all the what ifs and As Simon says, X, Y, and Zs. What about A, Bs, and Cs?
Yeah. So there you go. Stop worrying about the best strategy. I mean, obviously, educate yourself at the same time, but just be all in and just flipping go for it. It's now time for this.
It's property investing news time.
And in the news this week, we have a national scandal. It's called empty homes. I'm going to pass you on to Russell now.
He can read the headline, but he can't read the article because his eyes are too bad. Oh dear. Okay, so basically the purpose of this article is there are about 205,000 empty homes in England alone, worth an estimated 50 billion. And these homes have all been empty for at least 6 months or more. Actually, it's getting on for 1% of houses.
Surprising, considering we have like a homeless.
Well, this is kind of the point of the article. They're saying sort of on the street, go through the streets, any UK major city, and you see homeless people, you see tents.
Do you know? I don't know if you've noticed, but have you been out in a city recently? Have you been out anywhere recently at night?
Anywhere recently?
Yeah.
I've been out anywhere, yeah.
Anywhere, right? Even in Wolverhampton, mate, I'm seeing more and more homeless people.
I know.
Honestly, there's more and more people, and it's actually quite worrying.
Yeah, well, the number of, according to this, number of rough sleepers, it has doubled since 2010. And also the number of hidden homeless. And by what do I mean by hidden homeless is, people that don't actually have a home, but they're not necessarily sleeping on the streets. So they might be sofa surfing or, living in someone's house temporarily. Yeah. That's on the up as well. So there are a load of people. I know this is something that me and Samuel are quite passionate about, especially being involved in property. And then you've got all these people that are living on the streets, which is terrible. There are loads of good charities that you can support, but it just seemed crazy that you've got 205,000 empty homes.
What's the reason for these empty homes? I mean, are like greedy investors just buying them and leaving them empty to sit on them?
Sometimes, yeah. There's people that are from abroad are buying. One of the reasons is people from abroad are buying properties in, for example, London as an investment, and they're buying it as a buy to leave strategy. Where basically they just buy it and just wait for it to go up in value.
Just leave it, sit on it and then sell it.
It's literally just an investment. It's not got a use or a purpose. It's just an investment. However, that is in London, whereas most the empty homes. Well, I've actually got the stats here. So the Northeast has got the most. 1.4% of homes in the Northeast are empty.
Yeah, there is a lot up there.
Then the Northwest, then the Yorkshire and Humber, and it's a lot of the cheaper homes. I think it's to do with things like they haven't got the money to do it up, to get it fit to rent, and they just decide just to leave it.
This is where the canny property investor should be getting their teeth into this.
Canny is the most Scottish word I've ever heard.
What does this sound? What does this look like to you? I've got a strategy for this. What would you think this is ideal for?
Well, we've talking about lease options earlier.
Lease options.
Yeah.
Find out who owns these properties and offer them a lease option on it. It's really not difficult. I mean, one of my lease options in Hull, that was empty for about a year, and that was empty because the reason it was empty was because the vendors that owned it were from London, and they just didn't want to rent it out. They inherited it and they just didn't want to rent it out.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And it's like, why? Crazy. So I'm now taking that property on. So this must be happening all over the place. And when you think about it, we were on training course last week in Heathrow, and I said to you, we were walking down this road in Heathrow, and we saw numerous homes that were just derelict and empty.
There were quite a few.
There was loads, and there were big houses. They're probably worth £500,000 down the back end of Heathrow, behind Terminal 5.
Yeah,
there's 4 or 5 down there that we saw.
I remember you pointed out we went for a walk. I said I didn't want to. See, me, I quite like during the break stuff. I like the fresh air. I like going for a walk. Often, me and Samuel go for a walk to chat about. I find that you have a lot of good ideas when you're out in the fresh air. And I was like, "Hey, do you want to go for a walk?" And he was like, "What?" I said, "Do you want to go for a walk over lunch?" And he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, just to talk." He's like, "We can talk here." I was like, "Come on, man!" And he really didn't want to. And then he just kept. And then when we went for the walk, he just kept pointing out these empty houses.
No, I do like walking, fresh air and stuff. It was a bit cold. Like, Like, you're out there in a t-shirt and I'm wearing a big thick coat and I'm freezing, and you're like, it's not cold, it's warm. Like, you're crazy. I've been southernised. Like, coming out from Scotland, I've been southernised.
You have.
But yeah,
your Scottish ancestors would be like, they'd be hating him.
Turning in their graves.
They would be.
You're not Scottish, you feel the cold. Anyway, but yeah, there was loads of empty homes, loads. And that's in, like, what you would think is a prime location, like Heathrow Airport.
Oh, it's crazy. So, what you're saying is the best thing to do would be to maybe find these empty homes, look on land registry, find out who owns them, and then get in contact with them and say, look, your home is empty. It's been empty for a while now. I'd be very interested in buying it.
The thing is, right,
What
see
would
with
you
these
say?
empty homes, they're going to be deteriorating.
I know, that's the
They're
problem.
going to be getting
That's
things
why
wrong
the buy
with
to leave strategy doesn't make sense, doesn't
them.
it?
It doesn't. You think of all them boilers that have not been switched on for 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're going to have to fire them back up. I know it's maybe a small cost to these big rich investors, but all these things stop working.
But
when
most
when
people
you switch them off.
most people get rich though because they are able to monetize. I mean, it seems stupid because why not make money out of it? And let it get looked after.
Yeah.
As it goes, it seems crazy just to buy it and then leave it.
Yeah. I agree with you.
It just doesn't make any sense.
For me, they're prime lease options or even rent to rents if they don't want to sell them.
The problem with rent to rents is I imagine most of them in a situation where they'll run down.
Yeah, potentially.
They'll run down. The other thing that they're prime for is buy, refurb, refinance.
Yeah. But
they're obviously not interested in the money.
no.
They obviously just don't want the hassle. So if you said to them, look, I'll offer you, let's say the true market value of it was say 100, but because it was in horrible condition, it was only worth 60, but you offered them 40.
Well, a prime example, right? About a month ago, I passed on to an investor a portfolio package of 4 properties as a lease option agreement. They were all sat empty. Now they're all going to be rented to the local authority, so we've got tenants for them. But they were empty at that point.
Yeah.
So we come to an agreement with the vendor, and we got an investor prepared to take that on. And then properties that were empty are now going to be tenanted by local housing authorities. So yes, they are to DSS, which is no big deal. The rent's guaranteed by the local housing authority, and the investor's getting paid and the landlord's getting paid. So that's another 4 people that are being housed, or it's another 4 families that are being housed.
Yeah.
So all these empty homes, and then it just doesn't make sense. You've got all these empty homes. You've got people that are living 10 people to a house, and they're overcrowded. You've got people that are living on people's sofas. It just doesn't make sense, mate.
No.
And we're in a country where that shouldn't be happening.
We are. Well, another thing, I'd love to hear if anyone's got any ideas. If you're on YouTube, please comment, or if you're listening to this, if there's anywhere to comment, or you can email us, podcast@samuelleeds.com. What's the best way of tackling the homelessness situation? Because I mean, obviously you got shelter, but shelter are a bit of a joke, aren't they? Frankly,
I've not got any experience with shelter, but I'll take your word on that.
Yeah. Well, if you're a landlord, you probably won't like shelter.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I've got someone I know I was chatting to, and what they do, I thought it's a brilliant idea. They've got like an old bus, right? And what they've basically done is they've basically turned it in, I suppose, like a HMO type thing. They've turned it into little pods on the bus. And they go to, I think they do it in Manchester, and they go to the city centre. And anyone that's homeless, they let them sleep on the bus. And they let them live on the bus for a few weeks while they help them find a home. And then they home them. And then there's space on the bus then for more people. And I think that's such a brilliant idea. But, I mean...
Well, in my former career, I was a bus and coach. I had a bus and coach garage. I had a bus and coach mechanic, and there's a coach in Milton Keynes. Yeah, it's the exact same thing. It's a big coach. It's been converted into, I think there's like 14 or 15 beds in there, and I've seen inside that that coach, and it is actually very good. It's all just little pods of beds, and it parks up in an area and it invites homeless people in for the night.
Brilliant.
So if you want a cheap bus, I know a man.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
So I'm still well connected in the bus and coach industry.
That's fair. Well, there might be people that are inspired to do something. There might be people that are inspired to give, and there might be people that come into us and go, "Look, we've got this charity, mate. Do you have anyone that wants to support it?" But I think that it would certainly be something good. As property investors, as people that are involved in property, and as people that are making money from property, I think it'd be a really good thing to give back to. Because it is. I mean, how many did I say? Or we don't know the actual number. Was it just say doubled? Doubled. Okay, I'd be very interested to know the number. But like you say, you see it all the time, and it is really, really sad. It shouldn't, it shouldn't be happening in a country where, it just shouldn't be happening in a country that's got so much.
I don't think it should be.
It really shouldn't be happening.
Not at all.
Well, look, thanks ever so much for this week. Appreciate it. Shaking your hands, just a
I
new.
couldn't see,
new format.
sorry.
That's okay. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Hope you found this episode very useful. And don't forget, we'll be back next week at 4 o'clock, every single Friday, 4 o'clock. And we hope you'll be joining us then. See you soon.
See you later.